E Dirty, welcome to Cho Braymeyer Presents.
We're going live, Josh Eggers. We're going live, baby. I can't believe it took this long to get you into town, too, by the way.
I always thought you were joking with me.
Better to be dead and cool than live and uncool.
All right, Josh Eggers has made it into the beautiful Wilton, Iowa, here at the studio/hangout room, if you will. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So who the heck is Josh Eggers? Well, Josh Eggers is a good pal of mine. How long have we been buddies?
Probably for the last 5 years. We started in 2020 trying to open our gym. Remember, we had a little snafu with some equipment. We thought you guys were going to haul for us, and
we had to put on our capes.
ooh, boy, you did.
Yeah.
You came through clutch for us on that one.
Josh is the director of the Clinton Parks and Rec.
Yep, correct.
Clinton, Iowa. And Josh and I know each other through the rec center, and that's how we got an established relationship going between us and Treadmill Heroes. But the real reason why I wanted to have you come in here, because, well, honestly, maybe we should just talk about how much you love me and Treadmill Heroes for an hour and a half. Wouldn't that be a great? Wouldn't that?
I could spend countless hours talking about how much I love Joe.
You know what? Why don't I just sit back and just listen for the next hour? No, the
Well,
real reason
started on a Tuesday. No,
the real reason why you're here is because you are the big stick that stirs the drink for Tailgate and Tallboys up in Clinton.
I'm one of the stirs.
One of the stirs. Yeah. Okay, because I want to find out all about Tailgate and Tallboys. Yep. And for those of you who don't know, Tailgate and Tallboys is a massive country music festival that takes place right in Clinton, Iowa, and it's been going on for a couple years now. 3 years now. And certainly you being, the director of the Parks and Rec and so ingrained within the city of Clinton, you play an integral role in that event. Mm-hmm. So I don't even really know where to begin. I have so many questions on this event. Let's start with 3 years ago. Let's go back to when Clinton didn't have this going on.
Yep. You have to go 4 years ago then, because there was the planning and the seed planning that took place, and then getting the concert folks even here to look at the grounds and everything else. So it all started probably closer to 4 years ago.
Okay. So take me back to the idea stage. Is anyone credited for the idea of, hey, we need to bring a country music fest into Clinton?
So, yes. And the conversation started, we had me as Parks and Recreation Director. Young, wanted to do some new innovative things for our community. I wanted to put music on our band shell. We've got this band shell that's beautiful, and we've got some great events, but I'm like, why can't we bring in the bigger acts, right? Why can't we bring in the bigger people to our stage and insert a new mayor, also young? We started talking. He had ideas about bringing music to the stadium, perhaps, just kind of maximizing the resources we had, both the bigger production. Well, we got tipped off to Red Hot Brian Scott, who was a radio personality.
Is Red Hot still around?
In some capacity, he is. I'm not sure to what, but he had mentioned something about USA Concerts, and we got a hold of a Wayne Klein, that our mayor, Scott Madison, who's my partner in crime on this festival locally, did a cold call email, if you want to call it that, and got a response back saying that, hey, I'd love to come to your town and see what you guys are trying to cook up here. Fast forward a couple weeks, Wayne Klein comes to Clinton by himself, and we had like a whole crew of, myself, the mayor, our city administrator, like 8 or 9 different individuals who had vested interest, and we kind of like put them at the end of a table and just start talking. And he took a look at our fairgrounds, if you want to call them that, festival grounds, if you will, and he fell in love with it. He's like right on the riverfront. And then what we started to learn was that Scott and I's concept of bringing something to Clinton was undersized. Like, they wouldn't even put like a Jason Aldean on our stage. And in our mind, we're thinking we got a great band show, but that would be more like a side stage for what these folks require. They have to build a stage that is a certain size, scale, rating, and all these things. So there was a lot of lessons learned just in that first, month alone of like, holy crap, like we are getting into something way bigger than what we ever thought it could be. But it was our bigger ideas that kind of helped spawn it. But we really needed the people come to help drive the ship to get there, if that makes sense.
You bet. Okay. And then cock your microphone a little bit closer to you. There we go. Yeah, that's good. So Wayne is basically a promoter for a big outfit, right?
He owns USA Concerts.
Okay.
Yep.
And so cities or venues will hire him and his company to come on and put on a festival or a show?
Not necessarily. So USA Concerts is the company, and they have their flagship in Bloomington, Illinois. That's where the Tailgate and Tallboys flagship is out of. They have done them in, I think, Midland, Michigan. I think they did one in North Carolina, but Clinton was like their second next big leap of faith, big festival. We're a 3-day. Bloomington's a 4. Bloomington's much more established. I think it started in Peoria when it first initially happened, but Wayne owns Cruisin's, which is a bar in Peoria, and he books a lot of local talent, right? So he's getting a lot of folks that are up-and-comers in the concert world, but he also then books for the USA Concerts team to do Tailgate and Tallboys in Bloomington. They've had massive names. I mean, they've had Jelly Roll, Bailey Zimmerman, Riley Green. They had him last year. Clint had him this year. I don't even want to begin to try to think of all the artists they have, but they are massive when it comes to their festival compared to ours. They've got a side stage that has what we would consider to be like direct support type acts. They've got them on a secondary stage, so they're pretty big down there in Bloomington.
Okay, so what I'm super interested in right now is the nuts and bolts of how to even get this going in Clinton. So you and the mayor, you guys, you connect with Wayne and say, we want to do this. He comes up and says, I love the town. I love the whole setup here. It's going to be great. Then what do you do?
So he went back and talked to his partners and said, hey, Clinton is a great venue. I think there's a path forward here. They've got a great layout, a lot of good green space, which is huge, areas for parking that will work. And they turned around and said, we would be interested in doing a co-promotion with you. They called it a co-pro, first time we had heard that, where they would be 50% financial partners as just along with the city. So we had to come up with the business plan of what budget we thought it would take to get the amount of talent here that would bring people. We both went at 50-50. We split every revenue. We split every expense. But they believed in Clinton and the layout that we had so much that they were willing to take a chance to bring that to Clinton. So we jumped in to a contract agreement, started writing that up, and we got our council to approve a 3-year contract with them. We just got on the tail end of the year 3 just now. But we've also got our council to approve to start discussions for a new contract with them. So we'll see how this year shakes out financially, and then if they're willing and able partners to come back to the table, we'll try to do another 3 or 5 year run.
Does it make sense for a promotion like that to go 50-50 with the city in the sense of, okay, yes, you're only halfway under the guillotine as far as a financial obligation, but more importantly, if I'm partnering with the city, well, then we can just make things happen that need to happen. If they were 100% in, now they're constantly
correct
getting approval to do things through the city, where the city doesn't necessarily need to get approval from the city. You kind of do, I'm sure, in many ways, but in some instances where it would normally take a lot of rigmarole to get this one thing done, the city can go, oh yeah, we'll just handle that and get it done for you.
Just because we have resources, so we can meet with our police and fire and talk about road closures and access to the site, and we've got bigger equipment that we can move things around that they would probably have to contract out in other community or other towns that they've been to. So it is great having the city as a resource because we're movers and shakers. We're good at what we do. We know the lay of the land. Most of the things are owned by the city, so we've got keys and access to everything. Just those minor, those detail things that you don't think through.
Yeah,
we can get into spaces if you need to, open up fences if you need to, because we got the keys to all that stuff. So really, it's a great partnership in that regard.
When you guys sit down, you map it all out, and you go, okay, the festival is going to be this many days, which, by the way, it's 3 days. 3 days.
3 days.
It's going to be 3 days during this time frame. We suspect it's going to cost this much. What is this much?
This much is a big number. Yep.
Is it a couple $1 million?
It's a few million. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So a few, I'm going to guess $4 or $5 million.
Not quite that high.
Okay. All right. So without you telling me, I'm gonna assume it's probably around $3 million to put something like that on.
That's a pretty good guess.
Okay. And then how do you quantify that from the city standpoint? Because do you guys then just put a value on, let's say, trash removal? Well, we're going to cover the bill for trash removal, but it's our trash guys, but it's valued at this? Or because I don't imagine just the city just pulls out a check for $1.5 million and the other one pulls out a check for $1.5 million, just put it in the bank and then you pull from it.
Kind of, to a degree. We basically insert money that needs to be put into, if you have a bill that comes up, right? Let's say you got a deposit due on an artist, so if it's X amount, we'll put in half, they'll put in half into a shared account, and then that's where they'll write that check from. They'll cut that from that account. But when it comes to the city side, we've got so many resources that we trade out a lot of things. Like when you say garbage, we've got a local garbage company that we say, hey, would you be willing to trade some tickets for your dumpsters to sit on site? We do those all day long. We trade out food to feed the production team folks. We trade out for the garbage. We trade out we've traded out stuff for some water service if there was a repair that needed to be done, because we had one of our water service, the piping underneath was broken and leaked, so we had to call in a company to come do that. Like, can you please be there like today?
Yeah.
So we can trade certain things like that out. So that is what really helps. But what really drives the needle is the artist budget. I mean, they're not cheap, right? I mean, you're paying pretty good money to get a Jason Aldean to your town, or Jelly Roll last year and Shinedown. Like, they don't come for free. So that's where the lion's share of it comes. But then you've got the production side, the staging. You've got the production crew to set that up, the light towers, the speaker towers, all the fencing, all the scrim, that blackout scrim that shades the view. All those different things come with it. Plus, you've got the personnel of the concert folks, like the folks that are there managing the tour buses and everything as they come in, the security. There are so many different levels to that, and every one of those comes with a price tag. And you can trade out a certain amount of it, but you can't trade out all of it because they're experts in their field. Like, I can't just come in and start setting up a speaker tower. I can start hanging scrim on fence. I can do that, but I can't do some of those other things. So you got to contract those out.
Well, and the things that you do trade out, like for example, the dumpster guy, right? And I know I'm getting caught up in the weeds, but this is super interesting to me. So the dumpster guy, you say, hey, we're going to give you a good chunk of tickets for you bringing in the dumpsters and then hauling them out when they're done.
Yep,
right?
100%. Yep.
Do you guys associate a value to that trade? Or is it just, it's a deal we brokered as the city, we're good, we've got X amount of tickets we can give away anyway, so that doesn't necessarily pull from the pot of the full budget?
Yeah, no, we don't touch the budget when it comes to that stuff, and we do kind of try to put a value. So if we know like I'll just use $150 for a general admission ticket as just an example. And one of the trade outs we do is we feed the security team at the end of the night after their shift. So let's just say there's 20 pizzas hypothetically, and that's valued at, let's just say $600 or whatever it is. Well, that could be 4 or 5 tickets worth. And you kind of calculate that out, right? We can't just give away the farm. So it's got to be equitable. So some folks provide for the production team lunches. Well, there's 100 lunches right there. I mean, you figure $10 a pop at a lunch minimum, there's $1,000 value. So you try to equate that into an allotment of tickets that matches that, so that you can make sure that that's a fair and equitable trade out. So we do try to have to do some sort of formula to just not randomly throw out tickets. I mean, there has to be value to it for what they're offering you, what we think in return. And then some are obviously bigger than others, because a week's worth of dumpster rental could be in the thousands. I mean, that's a lot of money. So you have to try to kind of calculate what you think that would be in equality to a ticket.
When you're planning this out and budgeting everything, do you guys say, okay, and typically you're going to give away 10% of the tickets on average through normal trading and barters and stuff like that? Or was there no baseline? Is there no blueprint to that? So you guys just keep an eye on how many tickets that you're trading out? Could you still,
And there was no baseline for it, because
that's what
in Bloomington, they don't have that necessarily. Like, we're in Clinton, we are very tethered. We're very connected with our community. So we know the businesses and the people that can help get assets or services that we need. So that's where having the city as a great partner, because we have those relationships established. I mean, Scott and I have been working on relationships. I've been with the YMCA and since like 99, 2000 in the service industry, just meeting people, grooming relationships, cultivating relationships, and then went over to the city. You continue to do that. So I've always said, like, I'm only as good as the person on the other end of the phone, right? So something comes up like, oh, Josh, like, we need 50 pallets, like, right now. Well, I know that there's a guy in DeWitt that I can call. Like, I'll call him up. I said, yep, I'll have him there tomorrow. So then you start again. Well, what do you think the value would be on that? And you start thinking about how many tickets you could trade out. Some of them do it just to do it. They don't want anything in return. But at the end of the day, it's better than just writing a check for every single thing that would take to run a festival, because we trade out quite a bit. We keep a great spreadsheet of the who, the how many, and the what. We also have a great sponsorship endorsement. So we have like 50 plus sponsors. You know, it's a good chunk of money. We calculate how many tickets they get as part of that sponsorship package plan. So we got to keep all of that in an Excel spreadsheet so we know exactly what's going out, because for this thing to be successful, it can't be a free for all, right? It has to be vetted. It has to be tracked, especially when you're a city, right? You're constantly getting audited every year at the state level. So you got to have everything in your checks and balances all in order. So it's a lot to manage. But we're happy to do it because the community overall has supported this overwhelmingly. There's some naysayers, but I think you're always going to have that. But after this year's show, one of the biggest takeaways we heard was the amount of people that went out and experienced Clinton, which hadn't always been there the previous 2 years. The first year, nobody knew what to do. You've got people from 40 plus states in your town. They don't necessarily know where to go. Year two, maybe they meander out a little bit more, but for some reason this year, like stores were full, storefronts were busy, stores were being shopped at. I mean, the heads and beds is obviously a big thing too, and gas station, but those go without saying. That's going to be busy no matter what. But just some of those other stores that were visited this year was a huge win. Was a huge win for us.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was thinking about, is how something like this affects the local economy, which I want to dive into a little bit. But go back to year one. You say there was some naysayers. I have to imagine year one was pretty difficult to get enough people on board. Or was year one like, oh, yeah, let's just invite all these people in for a country music festival in Clinton?
Well, and I'm glad you said that, too, because when we met with USA Concerts, it's a country music festival, and they're coming to the table saying, hey, we'll be 50-50 partners, meaning they'll take 50% of the expense load. You know, and some people are like, well, why don't you guys do rock, or why don't you guys do other genres? Like, well, we didn't have a rock concert come to Clinton and say, we'll go halvesies with you. So, I mean, we kind of struck while the iron was hot. So this is a country music festival by nature, so we were kind of tied into that. We did throw a rock act out last year in Shinedown, and it was one of the best shows I've physically ever seen in my life. And I think a lot of people had that same takeaway. So there is probably some justification for keeping a rock element to it, but historically it's country music by nature.
I'm sure the promoters discussed the difference in the clientele with different genres of music as well, right? They probably know that better than anybody. And I don't know, Katie, what do you think? I mean, at face value, I would think that the country music fan right now is probably a relatively easy fan to deal with in the sense of causing problems. They probably spend some good amount of money. They usually show up with a big group of friends, right?
Yep.
To me, at a rock concert, I almost think you grab a friend and you go to it. I don't think of like a whole group of friends with guys and gals all together showing up in a drove.
Yeah.
Where at a country music fest, I think that's probably more the case.
I think you're probably right. And we have multiple camping areas, and it's like a whole nother world. And you got the guys in their red, white, and blue cut-off coveralls going to the show. It's almost like a culture, if you will. You know, they're out there playing beer pong. They're playing bags. They're doing that. It's a whole experience. You know, it's not just, you know, the hour and a half show at a time. It's everything that goes along with it. You know, they themed the days this year. There was a military day.
I noticed
day.
that.
There was a red, white, and blue day. I forget what Thursday was, but I mean, people seem to, it was denim and blue jeans. So, I mean, people really seem to buy into that, and you started seeing people theme it. So I thought that was a good move on the marketing side of things, that they themed it. And I think that turned out pretty well.
That's super smart because there's a lot of chicks that come to those kind of concerts, the country music ones, right? Yep. And I would imagine they put a lot of thought into what they're going to wear. And to give them a theme, it makes it almost easier and more fun.
A lot of thought for that minimal amount of material, right? That's the way it
Katie, talk from a standpoint of from a female guest to a country music fest. Like, there's a lot of thought that goes into what you're going to wear to something like that, right?
Yeah, I think that goes for any concert, but it's kind of like, you know what Coachella is.
Yeah.
All these women, they get the craziest outfits. They want to look the coolest, most expensive. I'm imagining that there's a lot of girls who go to this Tailgate and Tallboys and they buy a pair of cowboy boots just for the occasion. I wouldn't do that.
I think my daughter did that, actually. My wife's in the same boat, you know. I mean, has her cowboy boots on as she's going out and buying a new outfit. So I think when you talked about the economic impact there, that's a great point you guys brought up about that. There are economic drivers that are happening behind the scenes that we're not even calculating into any formula when it comes to a profit and loss margin, you know? So the people that did go out and do that, or the people that, you know, eat at your restaurants or go shop at your local shops. I mean, there is something to be said about the amount of money that is spent beyond just the artist budget and the production budget and then the revenues from that, but all of those other ancillary revenues that come along with it.
You guys have to be the heroes of Clinton in that sense of the economic boost, especially this year, because now you guys have had a couple years under your belt. All the locals have been watching, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes people won't say anything. Sometimes people won't hear anything, but they're always watching, right? And I have to imagine that the businesses that have been keeping their ear to the ground on Tailgate and Tallboys were ready this year and were able to welcome in an influx of business.
Yep. This year, more than any other year of the three, we've had businesses that reached out and said, wow, like this was one of our best years yet. And we actually had one business in particular, Manning's Whistle Stop. They're right across the venue. So, I mean, they're prime location, right? And they put on their social media that they had the biggest record sales in their 44-year history. And that's a 44-year history
How
bar
special.
On 2nd Street. So that's a very well-attended place, you know, year-round, regardless of an event. For them to have a 44-year high, I thought that was pretty
That's got to make you feel good, because you're like Mr. Clinton up there. Like, I've been around town with you. You're Mr. Clinton. And I got to imagine that this gives you a high level of satisfaction when you hear stories like that.
It does. And I think this year more than others, I finally started listening to the positives, because the negative folks were there and man, they're loud. But then you start thinking, like, the amount of people that are in favor of this and actually do love this, and this gave the city of Clinton an identity. And I think Mayor Scott and myself worked very hard at trying to provide things like that. And this is something that people have latched onto. They're planning vacations around this. They're coming back from Arizona because they're from here originally, and now this is the week they choose to come back. I think there has to be something to be said about that. The impact that this has and the identity that it has given Clinton, it just can't be overlooked. You know, financially, it's not quite gotten to where we need it to be, but there's some ideas we have to way to dial the budget in a little bit that we think we can overcome that. But the residual effect of it, I think the ripple effect is what our visiting coordinator from Grow Clinton had mentioned about the ripple effect of Clinton. It could be felt, and she was spot on when she said that. You could feel it after the show was over. People were just wowed with this event.
I think of Clinton kind of like potentially, as this thing grows, there's a little bit of similarity with the city of LeClaire. Mm-hmm. Before Pickers, LeClaire was, if memory serves me, kind of a tired town. You know, there wasn't a whole lot going on. And with the success of Pickers being, you know, from LeClaire, and now you go through the downtown area, and there's little cute shops everywhere. I like you can walk through downtown and they play music through the speakers and the street lights.
Hanging from the light poles.
Flowers! It's really neat, and I think they can attribute a lot of that to the success of that one thing. Yep. And wouldn't it be neat if this continues to grow and get big, and millions are being pumped into the local economy? Yep. It's a big deal for a city like Clinton.
There's an economic calculator that Grow Clinton, which is formerly our chamber for comparison, that the state passes out based on the amount of people that come versus the average per person stay. And I think they calculated it at like in the $6 million range for economic boost into Clinton.
For the venue?
Yep, correct. For Tailgate and Tallboys, economic impact. Now, these are state numbers and formulas based on attendance. So that's all we can use, right? But that's what they're calculating. It would be like a $6 million injection for that week.
Of just $6 million circulating around
town. Yep.
Yeah.
Through fuel, through shopping, through stores, through purchases, whatever you want to call it, that formula. That's the calculator that they were using. So it's pretty impressive.
You guys set a goal every year, I'm sure. A financial goal.
We do.
Did you hit your goal this year?
Not likely. Nope,
okay.
Nope.
But I know you. I'm sure you set a pretty lofty goal.
It's not my goal. You got to remember, I'm just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Right. You got myself. You got all of the city.
As the city, do you guys set the goal with the promoter?
We set the budget with the promoter, in hopes that you will meet or exceed the budget. Like that's because basically the thing that people don't understand either is artists every year, it costs more and more to book, right? So if someone was booking at X amount last year, let's just use 150,000 as just a number, and they had a pretty good year and you booked them or wanted to book them this year, you might be booking them at 300,000. You know what I mean? So just
their price goes up as they get more known and more popular.
That's the name that people want to come and see. So you really have to try to strike while people are on the upswing. I think Ella Langley was one of those gals for us this year that USA Concerts kind of knew going in. She was a really good play for us this year because of her popularity. Gavin Adcock was another one. He came out right off the bat with some of his, kind of rough and tough in your face kind of music, and people really flocked to that stuff. So the concert folks are very, very good at trying to pick those things. Now, not everyone is a home run, but if you can get a single or a double out of some of them and then home runs out of others, then you're doing pretty good. So Scott and I don't have as much say in the artist, but they'll run ideas past us and see if it came down to this person or this person. Do you have a preference? We get those kinds of input, but we are not out there booking Jelly Roll. We're not booking Jason Aldean. That is all the USA Concerts team. And I think they've got a partner called Peachtree, which is another big driver in the concert world. So they're now working together to try to streamline their services. So really, it is just trying to merge together and tether what can the city resources and financial input paired with their expertise in the field and their production experience. How do we make that into one big economic boomer, a profitable event? Like that's what we're trying to dial in right now. And they said right off the bat, it could take up to 5 years for that to happen. So we did 3 years just to kind of get our toe in the water, but they as in USA Concerts said right off the bat, this might take 5 years to get there because you have to build it, right? You have to grow it and you have to dial it in. And we're hoping to get past year 3 and get years 4 and beyond so that we can, continue to get better at this and dial it in and turn it into a profitable endeavor.
Okay. Well then let's play pretend with some early numbers. Year 1, the city and the promoter go, Tailgate and Tallboys, we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And let's say you guys set a budget of $1 million the first year to get this thing off the ground. Mm-hmm. Number one, are you telling me that you then your goal and budget are kind of the same thing as $1 million? Like, hey, we want to make sure we at least cover the cost.
For now, yes.
For now, we want to make sure we cover the cost. Has there, in that first year, did you guys cover the cost or did you fall a little short?
Well, we did not hit the budget expenses year 1 or year 2. And the hope was that we would continue to grow and get more people to come. But we have not gotten it quite to that point yet.
Okay. So in year 1 and year 2, you guys fall short of the budget. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to play pretend. Budget was $1,700,000. I'll just pretend. You're not giving me those numbers, but now, how if you spent $1 million, you brought in $700K, you guys are in the red, $300,000.
Correct.
So then, does the city just throw in $150,000 and the promoter throws in $150,000 and say, all right, we're going to try and trim that loss down next year?
Sort of. So you only put in what you need to spend, right? So when you have a budget, let's say your budget was $1 million. Well, you don't just come right out with $1 million right out of the gate, right? We're booking Joe Brameyer this year, and his cost is $50,000.
You're trying to be as under budget as you can,
right? So then, out of your allocation, your agreed to allocation, well, we're pitching in $25K, and they're pitching in $25K. Now you're paid. Well, now that we went on sale, we now have sold tickets to her and her family and her friends. So now you're already buying that number down because you got sales coming in to offset it. So you're not ever fully going in like the entire amount of the budget, and that's where it gets a little harder to explain because let's just say it was a $1 million event. There's not $1 million just sitting there and you just chip away at it. Right?
But you guys have both agreed like, hey, we got $500,000 sitting here. You got $500,000. If we need to spend $1 million, that's our budget.
Maybe it's better to look at it like a credit limit. Like this is what we're willing to go up to and we're willing to put in towards this festival, but not to exceed type of scenario.
Okay.
But then you start selling tickets and you start buying that number down that you're going to be on the hook for less than the full amount because you've got revenues coming in to offset some of those expenses. So that hopefully by the time your second and third payments are due on some of these artists, second payments or whatever, but you're paying it out of that account that's been fed into by the ticket sales. That's kind of how that works.
So after this year, do you think there'll be a, like when it's all done, because I'm sure you guys are still counting all the beans.
Beans
right?
are being counted, yep.
So by the time you guys are all done, do you think you guys will sit back and go, whoa, this is great. We've got now we've got a nice cushion already built up to go towards next year. Is that how you look at it?
It's hard to tell because you've got another partner in the mix. You've got the city side being a part of anything will always be scrutinized because there are dollars involved, and those dollars are typically taxpayer dollars, right? So we have to be very conscious with decisions that we make. We try to be as fiscally responsible as possible, but we also look at it from a lens of, I make the example, like Eagle Point Park in our community is one of the biggest parks we have. It's beautiful. It's almost like a state park, if you will. But dollars don't necessarily come in physically because of it, right, into our coffers.
Yeah.
But people come from all over to come see it because it's something important to have. Tailgate and Tallboys to this point is, in my mind, the same thing, right? So it doesn't make money just yet, but let's get it there. But at the same time, when you talk to the people and see the smiling faces in the crowd, and we're talking thousands of people that are there with family, friends, and having a reason to come to Clinton in the first place, like how do you put a dollar on that? Like how do you price tag that out?
But this is such an interesting point to make because I'm a small town boy myself, and Clinton's it's not a small town, but it's not huge, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's still a community.
It's a 1 hour drive from Wilton, Iowa.
It's a 1 hour drive. Yeah. So this is a big point to make because I think in a community I know you have groups of people that will see a hugely successful event that the city put on and go, huh, well, they sure as hell can't still fix the fountains down at the blah, blah, blah on the riverfront, whatever. I'm making something up.
So that doesn't happen in just Clinton, Iowa?
No, that does
happens
not.
Everywhere you go?
Believe me, that happens everywhere you go. The smaller the town, the more amplified it is. So what I'm saying is you have a lot of people that just assume that after the concert is over, the city is sitting on a couple $1,000,000 of just profit, like a big bin of money. Yeah. And you're hoarding it.
No.
You are telling me that's not how it works, and it makes sense. How you guys look at it is, hey, as long as we don't lose our ass doing this, and the local economy just gets an injection of cash from all these people coming in, more people are coming to Clinton more often. This is going to be good for the baseball team. This is going to be good for the businesses. This is going to be good for just the economy in general,
that's
right?
That's the hope. Yeah, that's the hope.
And you're telling me that based on this year, that was a big success for the city. It's almost like, I know it sounds corny, but the city put the people and the businesses first in this. Like that's your main concern is the community.
We want people to come to Clinton, Iowa and experience it. We have a Parks Master Plan, and it talks about making more and better and frequent use of our festival space, which is down there by that whole band shell area. So it started as an idea with Scott and I to bring some bigger name live entertainment to Clinton, whether it be the band shell or the stadium. Why not, right? We're trying to think big. We're trying to be visionaries. We're trying to not settle or be complacent with what we're trying to do. We're trying to do something special. There's a price tag that comes along with it. We found a financial partner that was willing to take that same chance with us and say, we love Clinton so much that we'll go halvesies. Let's give it our best foot forward and see what happens. Dollars and cents, has it quite made its way to where we need it to be? Not just yet. But again, how do you put a value on the ripple effect that has come from that? Businesses that are being benefited. Yeah. Clinton has an identity. People have now heard of Clinton, Iowa that never would have heard of it prior to this festival. Like, how do you put a dollar on that? So yes, there are going to be those that are going to fixate on the budget, right? Didn't make money, lost money. This is terrible for Clinton. You've got a wave of other people that say, hey, you know what? It's worth it to us to have this, to keep this around. It's no different than some of the other amenities we have that cost money to maintain or run. Why would this be viewed any different? And this is one of the most highest level things in Clinton we have seen. So, and if we can get more people to come and support it and continue to build it and just tweak the budget, dial in the expenses, lower the artist budget if we have to, whatever it is we need to do, let's do those things and continue to try to grow this, because it is proven to be important to the people of Clinton and the surrounding areas and surrounding states. So I'm going to fight for it to stay. But there will always be naysayers in the end. And that is no matter what program we do through Parks and Rec or whether it's this festival or whatever, you're always going to have those that don't agree with the way you're doing something, the way you're spending the money. But how do you put value on the thousands and thousands of people that are in your town that wouldn't have been here and the smiling faces in the crowd? And I find myself crowd watching more than I do stage watching when this show is going on. And you've got, you know, in your VIP section, you've got 40, 50-year-olds, maybe some 20, 30s here and there, but then you start going further back, and now you've got a younger generation all the way to the back, and they're back there dancing, they're swinging arms, they're all decked out in their garb. Like, this is the next generation all the way in the back that you hope now in 20 years they'll, you know, become VIPs
Sure.
down the road. But my daughter is 17. I have another daughter that's 20. Like, they're at the show. They're there with every one of their friends, and they're having a blast. And that's all they talk about the weeks leading up to it, the weeks after it's over. So that ripple effect, again, it's still ongoing. Like, we're
That's
sitting
great.
here a month, not even a month later, still talking about it because you're intrigued by it. And this is Wilton, Iowa.
Yeah.
Right. So,
There's a lot of people from Wilton that went.
right. So this is having a ripple effect. So I think sometimes you have to support the concept of what it is and fixate less on just the dollars and cents, even though we are fiscally responsible and we are conscious of it. Sometimes we have to say, give this seed time to grow and see where this thing can go. And I think you'll find that in the end, this thing will work out for all sides, revenue plus the ripple effect and everything else we're talking about. But you got to give it a chance. 3 years is a very small sample size.
Come on, open up to me a little bit. Be a little vulnerable here, and this, I promise you, it won't come off as braggadocious or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
As a Clinton guy, being a part of this event since its beginning stages up through this year, you have to look around at all those people and recognize thousands of people in the crowd. You got to have such an overwhelming sense of pride.
There is a sense of pride, and I do love that side of it, but the full open up is my ear is so in tune with the negative naysaying.
Is it really?
It really is, because I've had a pretty good successful run of events and activities through my career that people have shown pretty overwhelming support. I've never ran into so much resistance. This was like my first sense of resistance. People like, wow, like people don't like this or people don't want this. Like, I've never had this happen before. So that was a new, I don't know if emotion is the right word, but I was in tune with it. Like, I hear what they are saying. I value the naysayer's opinion because it's taxpayer dollars and it hasn't made money yet. I hear you. Like, oh my gosh, like what can we do? What can we do? I'm like, I kept going with my faith that this thing is going to turn the corner and eventually get there. It may never get there. I don't know. I mean, our contract is out now. We've got, hopefully we're going to re-up it with our partners, but that's going to be up to them to decide, because guess what? They're on the private side. If it doesn't make money for them, they have zero reason to stay. As a city, we would have reason to keep it because of the community impact that it has. If the businesses are thriving, people want it. There's the identity thing. They don't get to pocket that. They don't get to take that home with them. We wear that badge. They don't get to.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
We can't keep, their take would be, we can't keep ponying up if this thing is taking a loss. And I said from the get-go, I said it won't be necessarily the city of Clinton that has to shut this thing down. Like, they'll walk away if they're not turning $1 on it, right? So that's also a big factor of this whole equation.
So how do the promoters feel? Do they? I mean, they're seeing an uptick every year, but still, yeah, they want it, they want that big payoff.
Yeah,
who doesn't want that big payoff?
They see the value here, and I think they're starting to formulate a plan. How can we do this festival without the big expense of that Saturday headliner act, which is going to be typically your most expensive in some cases, right? How do we find a budget, economies of scale, if that's the way you want to look at it, to get something that people will, in my opinion, what I've learned through year 3 is I think a lot of our local folks, they're going to come to this no matter what. So if we can get artists that are economies of scale, right, that still have a pretty good name recognition that people have heard of, they know they're still singing their number 1 songs that they've had, but maybe it's not a living legend like a Tim McGraw or a Jason Aldean.
Sure.
Let's face it, those are heavy hitters, man. That's a big swinging stick when you're booking Tim McGraw year 1. Heavy, the highest level of his career so far was Jelly Roll year 2. He's on the upswing still, and then Jason Aldean year 3. That's a big ask and a big price tag. but we love them. They're worth it. But
that's what I was going to ask. When Jason Aldean, or let's just use any of the headliners, when the big grand finale person comes out there, does it move the needle that much to pay them that much more for that last act? And to your point, do you feel like 80% of everyone's going to show up anyway?
That's what we're trying to figure out, and I think we are starting to get that sentiment that I think these people are coming no matter what. They're over there, like we talked about the camping. They're over there playing beer pong, playing bags. They're camping. They're doing no matter what, probably no matter what, right? So I think we still have to be conscious of putting on a great show. USA Concerts and Peachtree, I think, will always want to put on a great show. They want movers and shakers and people that'll move the needle. But at the same time, if we can get a budget that matches what we're trying to do and make it a win-win for everybody, that's the formula we're trying to create. But it takes a sample size of more than 3 years, I think, to do that, because after year 3, we've learned so much. We're like, hey, this is the first year we've really seen people experience Clinton. That's great. That's a win in that regard. We're starting to figure out, okay, maybe the budget needs to be adjusted to having 3 days of great music with great names and great acts, but it's not your living legends. You know, maybe we can't quite fit that into the budget. So let's just adjust some things and see if we can get this thing a little bit more in line with what we think we can pull off financially.
Do you meet all the acts?
No, and
why?
We get
like,
that.
do you not care to?
I would love to when I can, but there was one of my naysayer comments was something about, oh yeah, when you see your elected city officials and city employees rubbing elbows, taking selfies with the star or the celebrities. I'm like, man, if I did see a celebrity or a artist, if you will, it is a chance encounter for one thing. Wyatt Flores is a prime example this year. So I was over at 6th Avenue North, which is the main entrance, and we were trying to get some barricades and cones set up for pedestrians to get to the right spot. And I follow Wyatt, so I knew who he was. He pulls up on a side-by-side, and one of my staff people is telling him, like, hey, you're not allowed to be here. Like, you can't be there. I'm like, hey, you know who that is, right? So I went over and intercepted this side-by-side, and it was Wyatt Flores. He was just driving around the streets just trying to see the town. He was trying to go find out where the campgrounds were. He wanted to figure out how to get up to Riverfront to go see the river and all these different things.
Was it kind of the same case with your buddy, the mayor, or was it like, did he get a chance to meet all these people, or
he's in the same
just busy doing things?
You're getting called left and right to handle this or that.
This is also a good point, though, Josh, because I'll speak to the naysayers.
Mm-hmm.
If you and the mayor wanted to rub elbows with the acts, you could have. You could have absolutely worked with the promoters and said, well, okay, well, here's something we need to bake into the cake here. You know, I got kids and I got and I got people that I want to keep happy around town. My buddy owns a bar down the street. You know, I'd like to. You could have made that happen.
Well, we don't.
No, you don't, and that's the point. You could have, and I guarantee there are plenty of city officials out there that would be salivating at the opportunity to just take selfies and take pictures. And like you said, it's more of a chance encounter because my biggest focus here is putting on the best possible show.
Yep.
And these artists, although they're super important to it, they're also a cog in the wheel of this whole thing.
Yep.
They're just as important as the dumpster guy, right? We need everybody to make it work.
Yeah, as an example, so Jason Aldean flies in. I get a call saying, hey, Aldean and his team would like to golf. So I'm calling Valley Oaks and saying, hey, we got a group coming out, high level, keep it on the down low. They're going to come golf. I make that conversation happen with the golf course manager, and I forward it back to the USA concert team, and boom, that happens. I don't even see him. So he goes out and plays 18 holes or whatever it is at Valley Oaks. The next time I see Jason Aldean, or first time ever I see Jason Aldean, was when he was on the stage. And that was 20 minutes into his show because there was a bus stuck in the mud. His personal bus was stuck because we had gotten a torrential downpour. So there was a few of us back there trying to figure out how to get his bus out. So like, I'm not like up there, you know, fanboying it out, you know, rocking the Aldean show. I missed the first 20
minutes. I love your style there. I love your style in that sense. And also I kind of feel like the quote celebrity doesn't shine quite as bright because of everybody has access to everybody online.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yep.
you can have a celebrity that never leaves the basement at this point.
100%. And they stay in their trailers. Like Riley Green comes in, he's got his own gym in his trailer. He's working out there. You're not seeing.
Is that super jacked guy? Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, last year, Bailey Zimmerman, we have our pool open as one of the amenities. We try to get the golf course involved. We try to get our slip runners with boats involved. Our the backstage area by the pool. We try to offer these things up as different things that artists experiences that they can do. Well, Bailey Zimmerman was out there for hours, just going down the slides, going down the diving board.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you know, so he come out sunburnt when he put on his set, but backstage is not glorious. It is typically a bunch of production folks with ponytails, smoking a Marlboro Red and doing their thing, wheeling around equipment or whatever, speakers or whatever it is, and it is not like.
That's like Katie. She's just back there hitting the Marlboro Red, with wires and cords everywhere.
Got her smoke pack rolled up in her shirt.
Yeah, she's got a do you have a ponytail in today? Oh, we got a girl bun.
Yeah,
we got a girl bun.
But yeah, you may or may not see someone walking from their trailer to the food serving area, and that's probably about the luxury of the backstage area.
This concert, I have to imagine, whether you continue on with this one promotion or not, is going to live on.
Oh, in our minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get compared a lot to Riverboat Days, which was a huge festival in Clinton, a 4th of July festival, and it was massive. People came to it.
I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Yep. And I always try to say, let's not have the same stigma. They were amazing. I was down there 4 or 5 days in a row every year until the end of that as well, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. But let's give this a chance to have standalone value. This is not that. We respect what that was, but we're trying to do our own thing here. But I said, when I think of having kids that are 17 and 20 now and my 11-year-old, let's not let this be our next Riverboat Days that our generation of 20-year-olds is talking about in 20 years. Like, oh, man, you remember Tailgate and Tallboys? That was amazing. I wish they would have kept that. So we're just trying to make sure that we stay relevant and be fiscally responsible as much as we can. But I just think, like I said, 3-year sample size is probably not big enough when we're really starting to get a feel for what needs to happen. And I just don't want it to be too late that we now know, I think, what we need to do. But if we never get that chance to do that, I think it'll be a disappointment, I think. I would take it as a personal loss.
I'm kind of reading this as, hey, nothing's guaranteed for next year.
Correct.
Or any years after that.
Yep.
Because the promoter might come back and say, listen, this was so great and you guys are wonderful, but the bottom line is for 4 years in a row, we've just kind of lost money and we just can't keep doing this anymore.
Why does any business go out of business?
They lose money. They run out of food in the cupboard.
Because people don't show up to support, so we can put the best product on the table possible. And we've got a saying that I use in our department all the time. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? Like, we put something major in Clinton that we were trying to draw from all over, and we've done a pretty good job, and we've had thousands and thousands of people, and it's been successful in that regard. But there's just that one last element of profitability that a lot of people want to fixate on. And until you get to that, you're not going to win them over. And I get that. That's their opinion. I respect that. But I think what we're doing here is special. I think people want to keep it around, and I think that there are those that are expressing interest in voicing their support, because we've heard from some of the negative naysayers so much that I think some of the other folks are being like, hey, we need to keep this thing around. Let's start hearing from the people that do support it, because there's a lot of them, a lot of people out there.
I got an awesome idea for a concert, but I don't know if I want to say it online. I'll tell you.
Hey, just like anybody I tell, like, ideas are easy.
All right, I'll give you an idea. Let's say, whether you end up with the promotion partnership or not, maybe you guys have to try to do this on your own and maybe have to scale it a little bit less budget, right? Mm-hmm. Let's just pretend. What I always thought would be super cool is for somebody to put on a concert of TikTok bands. Bands that have 1 million followers on TikTok.
Cooper Allen was one of our first people to do that. He was year one. He was a TikTok sensation. He was on the stage, and he was famous for all of his mashups, where he would take different people's songs, and he would sing the first 4 or 5 sentences of a song and then throw in another version of another song.
Yeah, I love those kind of guys. Yeah.
So we've had quite a few people that have made their way through the TikTok world, and he was our opening act on Thursday of year one. And that dude came out and lit the stage up. People were in love with that guy. He pulled kids up on stage. He was singing his songs. He had crowd engagement. He had, everybody put your hand in the air and do this like hook thing for some song that he had. Like, it was really an engaging moment.
Yeah.
That's when I knew, 2 moments that I knew we were onto something special. Year one, when Scott and I were on the grounds and everything was kind of pretty much set up, and Mitchell Tenpenny was our Thursday headliner. That first sound check when Tenpenny came out himself, and me and Scott looked at each other like, holy crap. Like, we had no idea, because again, in our minds, we had this grandiose idea, like band shell and stadium concert, whatever. And then when you see the production these guys come and put on, you were like blown away. That was my first like, oh shoot moment.
Yeah.
This is something special. Second one was when Cooper came out year one, day one, and just lit up the stage. I'm like, man, like I was in. I'm like, this has got my full attention. I want to do everything I can to make sure this happens, because people were just loving it. They were ecstatic.
A full day of TikTok bands. Like TikTok Thursday would be super dope.
And we
you
could have
could
the
get 'em-
Treadmill Heroes podcast could be there too. You guys
Can
come
we?
and set up
Yeah.
shop.
You know what? We'll trade you out. I'm sure I got some rusty equipment somewhere I can trade out.
No,
yeah.
we've got a group that comes. Austin Jones with USA Concerts and his partner Ryan Thompson do a podcast. I think it's Tallbeers and Tailgate.
Do they have the exclusive on that?
They do.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
they
got to root
do.
those guys out. Well, you know what? I guess if I get the show big enough,
Yeah.
then I'll be able to bounce my belly around a little bit, but
you
not
could be
not
off in
yet.
a satellite spot somewhere. But no, they do a good job, and they typically sit down with a lot of the early on artists of the day, and they do run throughs. Like they met with like Lily Rose and Graham Barham and like last year Austin Snell, Josh Ross, sorry, and they meet with those guys, and they do a good job with their podcast. They're just they've been at it a few more years longer. Joe, sorry, buddy.
How, as far as ticket sales go from this year, if you had to say it was this percentage of my goal of ticket sales, just number wise, what do you think it was?
I have no idea. And the reason I don't know, I don't track the financial side of things as much as like the concert guys and the mayor does. I literally try to focus on my world, which is resources, oversight of the property as we facilitate. It's in our parts.
This is not part of what you're doing.
Not my particular area of expertise. Like, they're not calling me to cut a check, right? They're not calling, hey, Josh, I need a check cut. Like, I don't deal with that space. They're calling me for, hey, we need to get maybe a tow truck driver, or we need to get
well, was there any
forklifts.
scuttlebutt about leading up to the event, maybe like 2 weeks out, where people are like, we got to sell some more tickets here? Or was everybody feeling pretty cozy with where you were sitting? You had to at least have that kind of barometer floating around.
we felt the pressure, and we kind of saw some trends we're tracking a little bit behind of where we were, and you never know what those things are what's driving those. I mean,
Yeah, I wonder.
the template really didn't change, right? I mean, the budget was similar, the acts were similar as far as quality, and you just kind of start to wonder, like, what would make this year behind more than other years? Like, we didn't change anything. In fact, if anything, we added more marketing than we did before. We had our local grocery stores, again, for a trade out, putting stuffers in their grocery bags on the weekends. We started some campaigns with like corporate campaigns to try to get like some sort of promo link to their employees for some of the bigger factories in town, whether it be a factory, school district, whatever some of the bigger employees were, just to try to, hey, get the link to buy tickets out to your folks, just to put it in front of them. So we try to do some of those things. We had a street team with individuals at each college, whether it be local or some of the Iowa universities. We had a person that was tied into that was trying to do promotions, and they were handing out literature and talking about it with their groups of folks, just to try to spread the word. So I think our organic marketing locally was way more than we've done before. So we put our best foot forward. And I'm not sure what else we could have done different, but like I said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
but I still think the formula is there. It's just we have to scale it to what. Now that we know for our 3-year average, let's say we're averaging 8,000 people a day. Maybe this is the best way to put it. If you're going to have 8,000 people per day as your average, what type of artist budget and festival expense budget does $8,000 or 8,000 people make your budget work? So you have to kind of economy of scale it, like I said before, down to that. That's what I think we're trying to sort through. Is it 6,500 is our break even? And if we can get to 8,000 with this price point for ticket sales, this artist budget, is that the golden ticket? That's what we're going to start formulating now after year 3. What does that look like?
Have you guys sat back, because it's just me and you talking,
Mm-hmm.
have you guys sat back and said, maybe we could do this on our own?
No, I not really. I mean, there are things that I feel like we offer with our resources that we're really, really good at. But there's stuff that they offer with their resources that there's no way I'm not going to pick up a phone and call
Jason Aldean's manager.
Jason Aldean's tour manager.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh Eggers, Clinton Parks and Recreation. They're going to be, who are you? Like, what are you doing? You know, nor would I want to do that. But there's people that are just more savvy in that world because even the artists, like they don't like to talk, not the artists necessarily, but the touring managers, they don't want you talking about how much you spent on them because you might have booked them in your town for this amount. You might have booked them for this amount. Well, how did you get them in Clinton for this amount?
Well, I'd negotiate a better deal.
Well, next thing you know, like the different venues are talking. So they're very particular about that. And then like the media relations, for example, you know, like the artist will forward ahead what they'll permit. Like this headliner saying no media coverage. This one says you can do the first 3 songs. And this one says they'll do a meet and greet, but this one doesn't. It's like, man, that just seems like a whole nother level of headache that I personally would not even begin to know how to take on. That's why the concert folks are good at what they do, right? I mean, that's their world. They know how to do that. I don't.
Have you ever had anybody cancel an act?
We did. Lainey Wilson, year 1.
So, all right, you promote Laney's coming, you're selling tickets, and then how long before the show does Laney pull anchor?
I couldn't remember the timeline, but we did pivot and were able to pick up Gabby Barrett in a relatively quick turnaround, which we thought was good. You know, gal act for a gal act.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite the same pendulum upswing that Laney was on at that time, but really, really good. But she was a direct support anyway. So your headliner is the big dog. And that was, I think, Mitchell Tenpenny was the headliner that night. So Laney canceling, in hindsight, would have probably been a grand slam for us in context of where she was at that time in her career, because she was really tipping the needle. Well, CMA Fest was the same weekend, and they picked her up to be the host of CMA Fest. She's not going to say no to that.
Right.
And there's contracts in place, yes, but the contracts are typically more for the artist to benefit than we are, you know.
Is this just a case where it's like, hey guys, I really wanted to be there. Sorry, I can't make it.
Something like that.
Too bad, so sad.
Yep, something like
Figure it out.
Yep.
You don't have to pay me, and I ain't showing up.
Correct. Yep, 100%.
Oh, yeah, that kind of leaves you guys in the lurch a little bit.
Yep. So like, now what?
Do you get your deposit back? Do you have to give a deposit?
I don't know. Whatever was worked out, we would have gotten back.
You would have got it back.
But again, financial stuff, I don't track those types of things, so I couldn't tell you on that regard.
Have you ever been on any conversations like, say a whole day is rained out, or 2 days, God forbid, or something like that?
Yep.
Is there like an insurance policy you guys take out? So can you walk me through some of the baselines of that?
Baseline is, yes, there are insurances for that. Yes, it has happened in Bloomington. No, it has not happened in Clinton. So I don't know how that settles out. I think Cody Johnson last year in Bloomington, I believe, had that happen where they canceled the show. And there is insurances for it. Not sure what it all covers. Again, I don't get into that space. But
yeah, I'd love to talk to like an actuary who figures out what
Right.
you have to
What's
pay
that
out.
value?
What does that even look like?
Yeah.
Because I saw a video of your guy Luke Bryan. I'm sure you're a big Luke Bryan fan. Anyway, I saw he had a concert where his voice was all raspy.
Yeah, I just saw that on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm sorry. I
voice is gone."
sound terrible, so we're going to keep going here, but we're going to refund you guys all your money."
Yeah. And
is there like some guy backstage going, "Oh my God," like I was putting myself in his manager's shoes, like, how are we going to figure that out?
I thought the same thing. And we deal with a ticketing company that handles all the purchases for that. And I'm sure where there's a will, there's a way. But when he said that same thing, I'm like, man, somebody backstage is like, crap, how are we going to figure this out? But I trust me. And again, that's their areas of expertise that I would not want to be dabbling in. So I'm sure there's a way for that to happen. And they got to make right on it, because if you don't, I mean, the public fallout would be Luke Bryan promised this and didn't hold up his end of the bargain.
I still can't believe. Let's go back to the naysayers for a second.
Mm-hmm.
does, when you hear the sayer of nay, do you go into a headspace of, okay, let me absorb that, see if there's any there, and let me try and just fix it because I'm just putting myself in that person's shoes? Or does it, which I'm sure there's an element of that, but does the naysayer really, does it eat at you? Does it gnaw at you? Like, do you take all that with you?
It did. And through the first 3 years, even through like probably up until the last festival date with June 5, 6, 7, it did. And I would read everything, and I would make sure I
oh my God, you
every
psycho.
Facebook thing
Oh my gosh, that's so much weight.
It is, but I think if some of those naysayers could understand like how like caring and considerate of people, like Scott and I as your local reps and everybody else that's involved, like we do care about our community. Like we really want this to be successful, not for our own feather in our cap. I could care less about that. I really want this to be a big success for our community. So when you hear resistance to that, so first you get a little bit of like defensive, then you get a little bit of like, well, what the heck? And then you get a little bit like, oh man, like people don't like what we're doing. Like, so you kind of wear all those badges, right? So for some reason, this last go around, I don't know what happened. And this is in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I had this epiphany where that's their opinion and they're going to have it. And that's just okay. And if someone were to come at me right now in Fairway and be like, this festival lost X amount of money and like that's terrible. Like, well, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
And then I'm prepared. Like, well, but it lost money. That's fact. Well, it lost money is fact, but your opinion is that it wasn't money well spent. And that's
that's a good point.
I think once I had that, like there are other things in every business or every city that we spend money on that not everybody's going to agree with. Certain parts of town might get a brand new road while another part of town don't. Well, that's still money spent. They might not agree with it, but this particular part of town loved it. So I kind of started running those scenarios through my head, and I thought, man, like that's how I have to approach this thing. You don't agree with the use of the monies that were spent so far. Hopefully we can get it lucrative. We're not having this conversation, but until then, your opinion is that's not money well spent. But I've got a whole slew of people on the other hand that think it's money very well spent. So my job is then to try to buffer that as much as I can and make it the best experience so that both sides can, rising waters raise all ships, right? That's what they say.
It is amazing how something as positive with only positive intentions behind it does create negativity. It's just it's the yin and yang of the universe, man.
It's the nature of the beast, and I get it. I understand it. This is not to discredit what they are trying to say. I totally understand what they are trying to say, and I hear you. Like I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, I'm going to give it the best of my ability because it's my job for one thing, and two, I love what I do. But it just hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, the worst kind of negativity is negativity aimed towards something that happened because of the success of the event, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, well, this happened and this was a big hit, but that caused this over here, It's like, well, that's a small thing that we could take care of.
It happens all the time. And that's just it, though. If we sat there and did nothing about it, then maybe that would give a little bit more fuel to their case. But as an example, so year one, we had our entrance at 2nd Avenue South, which was by Hardee's, and we had to do some street closures that affected a few businesses. We had to split the road that went by the post office in half so they could still get to it, but it was a little more cumbersome. Well, year two, we flipped the entire stage to the other end of the grounds and streamlined all of the entrance through one particular street, which was right by our Lumber King Stadium. It worked so much better. It was more fluent. I don't know why we didn't realize it at the time. I think we were trying to maximize some other spaces for some other components of the festival, but that change right there, just 1 year to two, worked out way better for streamlining efficiencies. So then year 2 to 3, you try to get a little bit more savvy. Now 3 to 4, we have new ideas that we want. Let's try to add this idea in, or let's change this to our budget. And then you see, because you're constantly evolving to make it better. But if you don't get past 3 years to try to adjust those things, you're never going to know. And that I think would be huge for Scott and I, would be if we don't get past year 3, like that will wear on me and eat at me. I believe it will Scott too, because we do want so much for this community. So this would be like a failure in my mind. And I'm sure Scott would probably view that the same. I don't want to speak for him, but we work together quite a bit. we don't want this to be a failure for anybody. We don't want this to cost taxpayer money. We don't want this to lose money. We don't want people to hate that this is in their backyard. We want this to be something we're trying to do that's good and positive. And a lot of people believe in that, but there's some that don't, and that's all. That's fine. It is what it is.
That's very well said. Can I tell you something just on a personal level? I've known you for quite a few years. You are an extremely busy guy. But one of the things that, I admire about you is you never come off as super busy. Like, I know how busy you are. Like, when you go out to your truck, you're probably going to have like 5 to 10 missed calls.
I
probably
can feel my phone vibrating
you're vibrating over there. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, what a distraction. But yeah,
it is
but you handle it really well.
Yep.
And I think that's a key part of leadership that I've always fallen very flat at, because when I get busy, in my mind, everyone knows I'm busy. I'm like, I'm all over the place, right?
It's easy to do. It's easy to fall in that trap. But I will say, busy, yes, but as a department, Parks and Recreation is all very busy, and we have a lot of like-minded people. Every one of them are from the same cloth that I am, and that makes my job a lot easier, because I know right now that they're doing their work in their different areas of responsibility, giving it the same type of energy, effort, commitment that I am, and they're not settlers either. Like, they are, once we've got this program off and running or this task or project done, we're on to the next one. So if you can build yourself a team like we have that is like-minded and like-focused in that regard, it makes your job a lot easier. So there's different kinds of busy. There's busy when you're picking up pieces because they're falling all around you, or you're busy because you're constantly trying to position yourself, your position, or help, give resources to them in their positions to make sure they're successful. That's the kind of busy you want to be, right? Because good things are happening. You don't want to be busy just putting out fires left and right. That nobody gets anything done that way.
Also well said.
Thanks.
Jeez. Okay. We have to pivot here quick. But Katie, how much time we have? Josh only has about 90 minutes total. How are we doing?
We're at an hour and 6 minutes.
Okay.
Man, look at us go.
Look at us.
Time flies by.
Yeah. I typically don't talk to current guests about past guests. One, because I want to hear about you. But I have a direct tie-in here, and your opinion is greatly valued with what I'm going to hit you with here. Okay. Last week I had a guest in here, old pal of mine, personal trainer guy. His name's Adam Means. I'm going to try and get this as short in as I can. So during COVID, as gym shuts down,
right, done that.
He starts researching all kinds of lost treasure stories, right? And he finds a story about a lost buried treasure somewhere along the Cincinnati River in Cincinnati, Ohio. Okay? He doesn't have anything going on. He's a single guy, so he goes out there because he used to work out in that area for Musco Lighting, the guys that dig the big holes.
We use Musco.
Okay.
We use them.
So, and his job was reading all these underground sonar technology and different things to know, like, can we safely put a big pole here? Is there a cavity? So blah, blah, blah. So he goes out there and he reads the story and researches, and he narrows it down to a place called Eden Park in the middle of Cincinnati, in a city park along the Cincinnati River, and he starts. He has to get a permit just to use his metal detector. So he gets a permit just to get the metal detector, finds something, gets all the proper permits, and he's able to get like these endoscopes down only 19 inches in the ground, and he is finding all kinds of anomalies,
such as
reds and greens and blues and actual shapes of figures.
Color. I thought you meant like actual uncovering some anomalies.
Well, he's finding stuff on his camera that is not natural to the area. He told us all on the show. He found he was dropping one of those big pokey sticks in the ground and dong,
a prod rod,
dong, hitting stuff. So now he has gone as far as he has a deal with the city of Cincinnati, a legal deal where we're going to split it 50-50, whatever we find.
Does he have that in writing?
He has it in writing. He's got all these, he's got like a team of attorneys, and the city of Cincinnati obviously has all their attorneys involved. But now the whole thing seems to be kind of at a little bit of a standstill. Now he has a bunch of formal documents that he's officially going to be giving to the city here in the next week or two of saying, this is what I have found. Here's all the proof. Here's all the pictures. Here's all the things. Here's what he's hired an archaeologist, like an actual, like Jurassic Park kind of guy.
Yep.
Okay. The long of the long is he found the treasure.
Is it bureaucratic red tape that's holding this up?
Well,
in your opinion, or?
what I'm asking you is, how hard is it going to be for him to actually dig up a city park in the middle of Cincinnati along the Cincinnati River? And how much does the city not want to be part of this? Because this is going to create a lot of extra work for a lot of people just to do it, let alone if they actually find something of large historical and monetary value.
It's a great question. I would think he's going about it the right way.
And I want you to continue, but real quick, he told me he's been dealing with the Parks and Rec director of Cincinnati. Like, that's who he has to go through, which something of this magnitude, potentially, you'd think you'd have other people involved. But I do know, dealing with you, I kind of made a little quip when I was talking to him, like, are you telling me the same person that's monitoring the Frisbee golf tournament is possibly in charge of an ancient buried treasure, possibly? But anyway, and I said that, jokingly, but you're the Parks and Rec director, and I know how many hats you wear. I mean, you're doing everything from the gym to the boat docks and everything in between. Mm-hmm. Are they just going to let him dig that up? Or is the state going to get involved?
I think the state will get involved. First off, the Corps of Engineers has probably got to be involved if you're doing anything near the river.
It's along the river.
So, I mean,
yeah,
they're definitely going to have a say so, and you got to have a permit from them for sure for any sort of digging along there. At least in Clinton specifically, because we've got the levee. I don't know what they've got out there, but I think having a legal team in tow is going to be his best bet. But I'd have a hard time thinking they're going to rally behind that.
I mean, imagine if I came to the city of Clinton and said, right along the river, I've got all this stuff that I've followed all the permits. I've got all this proof that I think it's worth digging up. I've got an archaeologist to back me up here who's accredited and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
He's going to present that in like a week or two.
I guess twofold. It depends on what kind of council they have that would give the approval for something like that to take place. If you've got some open-minded folks that might be into that, you might get them to approve the permission to be able to dig, assuming you've got all the permitting and everything else in tow. You also have the public, right? That's the other side of it. What's the public going to say? If you go digging into a park, you're going to hear from them loud and clear too, one way or the other. So is this all green space, or is this like beach space, or what is he digging into here?
I think it's just kind of a wooded area. That's the way I envision it. It's kind of just a brushy area.
Nothing protected that you can think of?
No, I don't think it's right underneath the spring toys by the jungle gym. It's more in just this Eden Park, I guess, is a huge park from what I understand, it doesn't seem like it's like right out in the open.
Yeah.
He was pretty guarded with where it was at.
I would also think you'd have to have some sort of archaeological study. I mean, it's also in the Midwest, so is there Indian burial grounds around that area? I don't know. I'm really talking about like just experiences that I've had. Like, there to me seems like there'd be a lot of acronym organizations that you would need to get something like that through. But I wish him well. I mean, I hope they all come out smelling like roses on the deal.
Well, let me ask you
if he wants to sponsor Tailgate and Tallboys, if he does, I mean, I'd love to talk to him.
You might get to wear the crown. If he finds a crown, maybe you get to carry that, wear that around.
If it's worth $3 million, I'll take it.
Yeah, that would help. That would help with the budget.
That would help.
So, real quick, and I know this is kind of fun, but if all that evidence was presented to you and the mayor of Clinton, let's say, would you guys sit back and go, well, we might want to drag our feet here a little bit? Because if that happens, I think the state comes in. Like, he'll just keep going up the flagpole, I think, until somebody gets involved, because he wants this stuff dug up. Does it make more sense for the city of Cincinnati to take a gamble and dig it up versus the state coming in saying, we're taking this over?
I would flip it, if it's me, I would flip it back on him and say, what percentage are you positive that there is something of value in your findings? Like, you've done all the work. What % positive are you? So that we can minimize the risk, right? That's our job as department directors, mitigate risk at all possibilities. What percentage are you that there's something under there?
I think that's good insight, because I'd like to tell him that. I'd like to say, hey, when you present this, make sure you say from one Parks and Rec director to the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
The other
make
thing
sure you
is-
put this is how confident I am in a percentage.
But there's other technologies. Like, we can't get better eyes on it than just a prod rod. I mean,
well, he's done all this kind of sonar type stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't see any of that, but the way he was describing it to me was kind of like almost like a fish finder. That's the way I was like envisioning it.
could we do an exploratory probe of something that's beyond a metal detector or a fish finder that could send a camera through, somehow get eyes on what we think it is? Is there other technologies we could utilize that would give me a more level of certainty? Because if there's something there, I mean, obviously you're going to want to uncover it, right?
Yeah.
Give me something that gives me some certainty here. That's what I would want to do.
You got to play Parks and Rec director today yet, don't you? What do you got going on now?
So I'll head back, and there's a retirement for the assistant fire chief, who's there for quite some time. Jeff Chapman, a good buddy of mine, so I'll be heading back to that. I'm leaving for Dallas on Sunday for Nationals volleyball. So once I get done with that, we had our team meeting this morning. Everybody's off and running. They've got their own stuff going on. We got in Clinton, Iowa, we got our Parks Night movie showing in the parks. Excuse me.
Yeah, plug some Clinton stuff before you go.
We're showing Mufasa. It's our first ever. So at our Jurgensen Soccer Complex, this newly renovated, beautiful complex, one of the best in the state. It actually got the Iowa Sports Turf Management Turf of the Year, I think, in 2020 or 21.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's great. And we're going to do a blow-up video screen in our soccer field. We're going to have everybody park in the soccer parking area. We've got the concession stands open, and we're going to show it kind of like picnic style, but it's almost like drive-in style. But instead of your car, you're going to sit on there, your blanket, your chairs, whatever you bring, but like on a blow-up screen. So
When is that?
that's tonight.
Oh, that's tonight.
That's tonight. Yep, at dusk. Yep. So.
Well, let's try and cut this up into a reel really quick, and then Katie, the stink eye Katie just gave me a cutting up the reel. I'll cut up a reel quick, and I'll try and post it to promote it. Anything else going on? You got 4th of July coming up. What else is going on in Clinton?
Same exact team we met with this morning. They'll be tied up at the 4th of July Festival on Riverfront, the same band shell grounds where the festival takes place. And it's actually the camping areas where the festival grounds are for our 4th of July Festival. But there'll be music. There'll be the Lumber Kings game. There'll be wrestling. There'll be
you got like professional wrestling coming in?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When on the 4th?
It's me versus you. You didn't get the memo?
No, well, let's go, baby. I mean,
my
if I can
money's
get in the
on you.
squared circle with anybody, that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
My money's on you. But there's a wiffle ball tournament. The kiddos are really excited about that. Like my son, my 11-year-old played in it last year, loves it.
Is this on the 4th itself?
On the 4th of July.
Oh my gosh.
There's volleyball tournament, there's bags tournament, there's the wrestling, there's the blow up slides and stuff like that. All sorts of games. There's a great 4th of July committee out there. They do a great job. And then it ends the night with the Lumber Kings game, home game, and then fireworks to follow. And that's kind of the every year celebration. It's pretty awesome.
Go to Clinton on the 4th of July.
You know, when you say that, the naysayer group, that they get far too much attention, but they're always like, there's nothing to do here. And I've always said, if you can't find something to do in Clinton, then you're doing Clinton wrong, because there is literally something every weekend. And Clinton, Iowa is somewhat of a small music market. We've got Finally Fridays, first Friday of every month. We've got Music on the Avenue every Thursday throughout the month of throughout the summer, every Thursday. And then Marketplace Music up on the north end of town. And I think they've got 4 or 5 shows scheduled as well. So there's constantly live entertainment right here in Clinton, Iowa. Well, not here, we're in Wilton, but in Clinton, Iowa. And I think sometimes that gets overlooked. There's plenty to do in Clinton, Iowa. We're right on the river. You know, get a boat, go to the Candlelight Restaurant, go to the marina. Pretty soon you're going to be able to start renting kayaks and paddleboards right on the river to go right up and down the Joyce's Slough. We've got a municipal pool. We've got an RV campground. We've got 8 pickleball courts. We've got sand volleyball courts. We've got a state-of-the-art skate park that we just put in 2 years ago. So Eagle Point Park is a state park within the city with Eagle Point Lodge overlooking the river and our stretch of 9 miles or whatever it is. Like, don't tell me there's nothing to do in Clinton.
Now you're just bragging.
Yeah.
Man, you guys got a lot going on.
We have a lot going on.
But you know what? All joking aside, you're a good dude.
Appreciate
and
it.
It's good to see good dudes and good gals getting involved. You hear it all the time, and you should hear it more. If you want to make a difference, get involved in your local government.
100%.
Don't worry about what's going on the national level. Get involved right in your backyard. Yeah. And I feel like, based on everything you've told me, there's a lot of really just good people that are involved in trying to make Clinton better and better every day.
100%. And the people that know me, that work with me, will tell you the exact same thing you said. So if you're one of those folks that has issue or whatever, and you've never met me, my door is open. Come talk to me, express your concern. Like maybe we can, give you context of why things are a certain way. Don't just jump right on the negative board. Have a conversation with the folks that know, or come to the council meeting and hear and get more educated about that topic of interest for you. Because when we start going to Facebook to find our information, we have failed, right? And if you start any conversation that starts out with "I heard," you're about to spew bad information. So come right to the people that can answer questions for you. And knowledge is power.
Josh Eggers, everybody. Clinton's own Josh Eggers. Man, have a great weekend. Have fun down in Dallas and doing all the and you know what? I hope you guys freaking win that thing.
I do too. It'd be awesome.
Man.
My daughter's 6 foot, left-handed, and she's really starting to come into her own in the volleyball scene. So we're pretty excited to see where she goes. She's got another year of school left in her senior year coming up. So we're hopeful that she's going to really show up and show out.
That's great. All right, everybody, thanks for joining Joe Braymeyer Presents, and I will race you to the weekend. We'll see you guys later.